Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the next episode of Breaking the Lens of Bias. My name is Kat Killian, and what I do here in this show is to show something where a various controversy, perhaps, or something that's happening in the world, and to show where the bias is in the various opinions that people might hold for that. Um, and so today I'm going to talk about a commercial, political commercial that's been running in Illinois. In the US, we have uh, the general election coming up in November, so we're about a month away from it. And I'm sure everyone in every single state is being bombarded by political ads. So, um, this one particular ad, most of the ads that we see, well, before I get into the particular ad I'm going to discuss today, most ads are either the candidate saying, "Look at all I've done," and or "Look at what I'm going to do," um, or you have the attack ads where they're attacking a certain point of view. And my apologies, I'm trying to bring this up that I need, and it went down. They're trying to attack what the other person has done, and oftentimes these are characterized by misrepresentation, and exaggeration of facts or causation of what has happened, making conclusions that are not necessarily um, entirely truthful. And it happens on both sides of the aisle, no matter what your political persuasion. So my point here is not to attack any particular point of view. Actually, this ad has I see this ad and it makes me heartbroken to think that somebody has gone through this. The issue I have, and where I think there's a bias being shown, is in who is running the ad and the conclusion that is drawn by this person's experience. And so for those of you in Illinois, this may be familiar with you. It's a commercial um, where it's featuring Dr. Brook Bello. Um, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of her bio here so that you know she's a legit person, and I have the utmost admiration for her, not just what she's experienced, but what she has done and accomplished, and the multitudes of people that she has helped by her activism. Um, and so Dr. Parker Bello is an author, actress, ordained minister, and survivor champion against human trafficking, and the founding CEO of More to Life, Inc., an open doors outreach network provider. It goes on to say some of this. She has a PhD in pastoral clinical counseling. She was recognized with the Lifetime Achievement Award from President Barack Obama in the White House, the Advocate of the Year Award from Florida's Attorney General Pam Bondi and Governor Rick Scott, and named by United Way Worldwide as a hero for her work. So that's just some of her accolades that she's had. And in this commercial, Dr. Bello talks about her personal experience um, as a child who was trafficked for sex trafficking. And it was heartbreaking to hear. I believe it was started at age 11. And it was heartbreaking to hear, that anybody would go through that, because that is horrible. And it's truly evil, in my opinion. And I'm giving my opinion here in this case. So I do not want to diminish her experience by any stretch of the means. Um, and she was forced to, as often happens with young girls who are trafficked, they become pregnant and was forced to go through abortions. And so herein lies the argument about the trafficking, is that she's saying Illinois has a law on the books, or it was repealed actually, that it was required for parents to be notified if an underage person decides to have an abortion. And I'm not here to talk necessarily about the legitimacy of that law, but her point of view is that if my parents were notified, perhaps that would have broken the cycle, or as she says, it would have broken the cycle of that, and that she would have been able to get out of it sooner than she did. And my thought on that is, first of all, when I saw this commercial, I was just like, oh my God, this is horrible, 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 horrible. And a sense of gratitude that she was able to come out of it, not unscathed by any stretch of the means, but that she was able to come out of it and to use that traumatic experience in her life to create something to help others, to create all that she has, which is phenomenal. And again, I applaud her for all of that. But the conclusion that she comes to, I don't think that is necessarily correct. And here's where I think the bias comes in. This is I think what's called a belief bias. And I understand her belief. A belief bias is if a conclusion supports your existing beliefs, you'll rationalize anything that supports it. So, given her experience, and as I often know, when I go back and I think of something that has happened in my life, I might go back and rationalize that experience. Well, if this would have happened, then it would have turned out differently. And the truth of the matter is, I have found, at least when I examine that belief, um, one of the useful things when you have that belief of, well, if this would have happened, things would have turned out differently, is to ask how and when you got that belief, and what supports that belief. So in researching the who is funding this commercial, it's a PAC called People Who Play by the Rules PAC. It is a ultra conservative PAC supporting anti-abortion positions. And again, I'm not here to take a position on abortion one way or another, but it's good to know where that is coming from. So their goal is to have absolutely no abortion in Illinois. That is their stated goal, or subtly stated goal in there. And so, of course, they're going to push anything that's going to push buttons, because the truth of the matter is that many women do support abortion, and so or abortion rights to various degrees. They don't want necessarily a total ban on abortion. So this is playing on those heartstrings. And I think Dr. Bello, and understanding her experience, and again, I can only understand it in my head. I can sympathize with my heart, but I can't really understand what she's been through because that's not been my own experience. But I could see how she could think that. And the truth of the matter is, I don't know if that is a fact, because there has been zero research done on it to my knowledge. And I've done some research on it, and really it's only been a supposition by politicians initially when this law was repealed. And so they're bringing in someone whose experience would support that. And now I'll admit I do like my police dramas. Kind of, that's my little candy before I go to bed, and seeing how they Law and Order, how they put these criminals up there in these stories, and they're say based on real life, but it's doesn't resemble anything. The point is that criminals are going to be criminals. They're going to do it, and they're going to find a way to get around it no matter what. Um, and so what would that mean for trafficked girls? Because if they're allowed to keep trafficking, it's going to be done. So it might mean back alley abortions, um, different kinds of things that certainly would be much less safe than than procedures found in normal clinics. And again, I don't know about Dr. Bello's particular experience, so I cannot address specifically that. But I don't think the two go together, and I think that's where the belief bias comes into play. The other interesting thing about the law regarding parental notification is that there was a board created in order to constantly kind of review this and to bring together these concerns. And I think what bothers me about these kinds of political commercials that say these kinds of things is that it limits our options for discussion. It limits our options for dialogue with people who may hold different beliefs, to come to a middle ground, to really work on these very complex, difficult, and absolutely heartbreaking issues that need to be addressed. And every time I see a news article or see something on television in the news that says a trafficking ring was discovered and women, mostly girls, but sometimes boys too, have been saved, it makes my heart feel good, because abuse of our children is absolutely wrong. And I would encourage everyone to actually think of common sense ways that we could go about doing that, and not just focus on one particular thing, which really the commercial is about: abortion and preventing abortion. It's a way to get into the minds of those women who are pro-abortion rights, um, uh, or and believe that, but appealing to their sense of, what about my children? What if that happens to my children? Of course, you'd want to be notified if something happened to your children. You'd want them to be found. I question if this is the way to go. So, again, a belief bias, here's something a little bit more about it. Say it's difficult to set aside our existing ideas to consider the true merits of an argument. I think that's what I'm trying to do here. In practice, that means our beliefs become impervious to criticism and are perpetually reinforced. So again, I'm not trying to say it is one way or another. I'm trying to say, look at the belief. And is this really true? And then do we stop there? And I say, no, look at the belief. This may or may not be true. It may help, it may not. I don't think it's the end all be all. There are a lot of things about the parental notification law that, if you are pro abortion, would understand why that law was put in place. You may disagree with it, but you can at least understand it. And the idea that there is a panel that people can go to and to discuss these issues and to try and resolve some of the problems that sometimes happen with these laws, the law of unintended consequences, that people can actually come together and discuss this. So, if human trafficking, if there was some research on it that I could point to, I would say, how can we change that law to prevent these kinds of things from happening, so that if a girl who is being trafficked goes into an abortion clinic, that somehow there is parental notification. And again, I don't have the answers. That's not the point of this show. It's to bring up the questions. So these are just the questions that I have. And if this is something that you feel passionate about, I would encourage you to do the research. Um, Again, politics is a dirty business. It's about win and lose, but really, who loses? We, the public, lose when our politics are to the extreme. We need to learn to come together and to look at these problems rationally, not in a 30-second or minute-long commercial and draw a conclusion from that. Um, so, in closing, I want to thank you if you've joined today, or you're watching this on replay. that you take a look at the commercial. In and of itself, it's by people who play by the rules pack. You can look it up. And I'd also encourage you to look at the wonderful work that Dr. Bello has done. Because again, just because I believe that she has a belief bias, and it shows in this commercial, I do not want to by any chance diminish the pain of her experience. I do not want to diminish the um, work that she does and all the accomplishment and accolades that she has received, because she truly is a remarkable and inspiring person. And I was very glad to get into this research on her and her point of view to understand that better. So thank you. We will be here next week, every week, Thursdays at noon Central Time. So I hope you join me next week or watch on replay. Thank you for being here and breaking the lens of bias. See you next time.